I'm getting to chat with you. Since that scrimmage, you've had an opportunity to review the film, I assume. Kind of take us through that, what you saw, what you liked from this weekend, and anything else you can share with us.
You know what? The main thing that I saw from us is that we operated like a football team, like we should. And there weren't a bunch of penalties. There were some, but not a ton of penalties to the point where I felt like we didn't understand the rules of engagement within our sport. And so our players have to understand the different situations. And so there was times when I was trying to create a little bit of adversity when one side of the ball was, kind of surging. Then I would create the adversity to, allow the other side of the ball to surge then. So it was good that they handled those moments the right way. And so those things are going to happen in games on Saturdays. And so I felt like our team just operated like a Division I college football team getting prepared for the season.
How did you split those things up? Did you just kind of divide the roster down the middle, or was it offense, defense kind of the whole time? How did that, the rules of that scrimmage play for you guys? So
this was different than what we will do for the spring game. And so for scrimmages, we're just going to do offense versus defense and allow our offense to start, backed up and can try to move the ball down and go score points. And then there's a segment where we get to the red zone, and then we give them some red zone opportunities. And if within the course of the scrimmage we haven't gotten enough opportunities down on the goal line and whatnot, we move the ball down into that segment of the field as well. And so I thought we did a good job moving the ball throughout the course of the entire practice with our offense, and then felt like our defense really stepped up in the middle portion of the practice to really kind of tighten the screws up and prevent them from being able to move the ball. So then I had to get them down there so we can get some more reps down there in the red zone. So I thought all in all, both sides of the ball really were competitive. Really, really, really excited to not see a bunch of guys missing tackles. That's usually one of the first things you see in a scrimmage is a ton of missed tackles. And I didn't see that on Saturday. And so I was very, very, very encouraged by that.
Heard about a couple of pass plays, a couple of interceptions. How was the run game, though?
You know what? I felt like our run game took a step back on Saturday compared to what we had been. I think that for the most part, I've told you guys over and over again, I've been pleased with how we've run the ball. And so, we're going to find out if that's a product of just not being enough live situations and those live opportunities coming to fruition for our guys. But ultimately, with the run game not being as good, our passing game kind of showed up a lot more on Saturday, which is something that I was a little concerned about. Had a couple young guys really step up. Notably, Jesse Legree did an outstanding job. He's a kid that just finds a way, and that's what it's all about. It's one thing to know all the plays and exactly what to do, but then it's another thing to go out there and actually make plays. Now, we're still going to coach them up if they don't know what to do and they make a play, but I'm looking for guys who know how to make plays, and that kid seems to have a lock on that right now.
What did you see out of the quarterbacks? Who stood out, and how did you split up those reps?
No, we split up the reps evenly amongst all the quarterback group, and so all of them got to work with both the ones and the twos pretty evenly across the board. And so that's how we're going to continue to move forward pretty much all the way until we kind of make a decision about who's going to be the starter. Felt like Brady Jones really showed up on Saturday. He continuously moved the offense down the field over and over and over and over every time that he got a chance to get in there. And then, I'm challenging him at times and kind of pushing him to, hey, I don't know if you can do it again. And he continuously all throughout the practice continued to prove everybody wrong that he could move the ball down the field. I was very, very happy with that. We had a couple turnovers in the quarterback room that were really uncharacteristic and really shouldn't have happened. We threw 2 interceptions. One of them, Carson Boschman's got to compete for the ball there, but loved that TJ Crandall really used proper technique that he had done right before the practice started, and it really translated right onto the field, and that interception was able to be created. But I like the quarterback not to put the ball in jeopardy there at all, and although it's in jeopardy, turnovers aren't just one person's responsibility. It's the responsibility of multiple guys. And so Boschman's just got to, compete there, turn into the defensive back in that moment and not let the ball get turned over. And then the last one, I thought our defense did a good job of doing a simulated pressure, all right, and it allowed our guys to jump underneath the route, and quarterback didn't see it, and we turned the ball over there. So had two significant turnovers that I thought could have been avoided. However, with that being said, we didn't fumble the ball, and that's a huge deal. Fumbling the ball may be one of the loneliest places to be as a football player. I did it once in a game, and no, you're on an island when you fumble the football. And so our guys didn't do that. They didn't put the ball on turf, and that was good to see.
Where do you and Coach Brumfield come down on this punt rule change, and how much were you able to already install any changes because of the rule change on the eligible and ineligible guys next to the center bit on the rule change for punting?
It's a really tough one, honestly, just to be transparent about it. With it not being really, honestly, final, it really kind of puts us in a place where they're really looking at that rule over again right now. Currently, as we speak, they're reviewing that rule and seeing whether or not that's going to be accurate for us moving forward. So we've talked about it a lot and given our players the understanding that that is a possibility of coming down the pipe. But I just believe that, you had teams all across the country who played in their spring game this past weekend. So how much were they really able to implement that rule the right way? Obviously we got some more practices available to us, so we could do even more. So maybe if we get some real clarification on is that going to be final or not, that'd be super helpful. But at this point, we're kind of moving forward with what they've given us and making sure we're aware and we're putting the right people in the right places. And so, go ahead.
We talked to Dylan Lane a couple times last week. What have you seen out of him and his leadership with that group?
It's been outstanding. I don't know if I said this to you guys publicly or not, but we have our Unity Council, and our team votes on members on the Unity Council, and then the Unity Council themselves voted Dylan Lane onto the Unity Council. And so I thought that was a huge badge of honor for that guy to get, having only been here for maybe a month at that time, and for them to vote him onto the Unity Council, I thought that was pretty special. And so that should speak volumes for the type of leader that he is. In that Unity Council, we're spending a lot of time talking about leadership, what that looks like. And Dylan Lane is, for our football team, there should be a picture of him sitting right next to that word leadership. And so super proud of him, excited that he's immersed himself in the culture of our football team from day one. And he's got a bright season ahead of him. He's going to do some really good things. His communication skills, we talk about having obnoxious communication. If you guys come to practice, I'm a pretty obnoxious communicator, all right? And so we want to make sure that they can hear and understand every single thing that's being said on the field. And so he is an obnoxious communicator at all times. And so super happy to have him a part of our football team.
What was his recruitment process like? Obviously, an Oregon kid, was that just kind of a slam dunk once he saw his name go in? But what was that process like?
You know what? I didn't really know him at all. Our co-defensive coordinator, linebacker coach, Court Dennison, coached him over at his previous institution. And so once he went into the portal, that relationship had already been established for a long period of time. And so it was pretty seamless in terms of how he made that decision. There was an affinity to this place and him wanting to step up a level and go compete here in this conference, and so it was important to him to do that, and so it was pretty seamless in terms of that process.
Is Aiden Sullivan going to be able to give you anything this spring?
I'm not sure, and I would say I highly doubt it. He's doing some recovery from some things that happened during the season, and so he's actually getting pretty far along. It's just by the time we get to that point, we'll probably be towards the end of what we're going to do, and so there's no reason to kind of risk him. But if he's ready, he's going to go out there and practice.
And I realize spring and winter recovery season and surgery season. I understand.
Correct.
But at the same time, you only have one leading returning guy in multiple categories, and he's that guy. So how does that impact what y'all are trying to do when he's that guy on the shelf?
Well, you know what? It's a great question because it once again speaks towards the standards of our football team. We expect every single person, well, regardless of who's out there, to uphold a standard that we're putting in front of them. Now, one of the benefits of it, not just him, but you got a guy like Tyler Bolton who hasn't been able to practice as well. Those guys, because they're not able to practice, but they have a ton of experience already, it's allowing other guys to get a ton of experience right now through spring ball. So all we're doing right now is building depth with it. Now, do I want my guy out there? Yes, okay. When the fall camp gets around, he's going to be ready. But I'll tell you what, both of those guys are super engaged in the meetings. Okay, they're going through the walkthroughs with the team. So yeah, and then they're leading when they're involved and whenever they're around the guys. And so it's not like they're out of sight, out of mind. Okay, and so just because you guys don't get to see them at practice and whatnot, so it seems like they're out of sight and out of mind. It could be further from the truth. These guys have been getting reps while they've been injured, and so I expect them to show up in fall ready to go, without exception. There are no excuses for you not living up to your potential, and we've given them every reason to live up to their potential.
Heard you say that a couple other O-line starters are also out, or
Yeah.
likely guys. Are you referring to Jacob and I know Broderick could just come in, but who are you referring to?
Broderick, unfortunately, he's dealing with an illness that could be contagious. So that's part of the problem with him. So nothing major with him. And then when you start talking about Jacob Anderson and him getting in there and Noah Thomas, those are guys that, hey, once they're able to go full, we'll see if they're going to be guys that are going to be inserted into the lineup.
With so many guys at center with not a ton of playing experience at that position, how has CQ looked through about half a spring and one scrimmage?
It's funny you say that because it has not been a problem that I've had to put my eye on, really, all through the scrimmage practices. I can remember a few times where that was a problem, and so with Carter having played before, he didn't play a ton last year, but having put a ton of snaps, over 1,000 snaps, I believe, he had a bunch of snaps, so he already has a sense of the game, and so it's been very seamless in terms of him being able to get the ball back there. But Wagner's done a really good job as well. He takes this game seriously. He's a kid that he really is doing a great job doing everything in his power to physically and mentally stay engaged. I've sat in those offensive line meetings multiple times, and he's the one I kind of attack, just to be honest about it, Hey, what do we got here? Like, I'm trying to put the pressure on him in the meeting right then and there to answer questions, because when he gets there on the field on Saturday, it's the same thing. Hey, they shift the front. They switch the front back. They got a guy showing like he's going to come. You got a guy backing out of it. He's got to make split-second decisions out there on Saturdays. So I'm in those meetings trying to put the pressure on him to make those split-second decisions now, and he's handled it really well.
When we talk to several of the receivers that are coming in, they say they're here because of you and your track record developing wide receivers. And then today we get to watch you kind of a little bit up close and personal, working with the receiver group a little bit. Is this going to become like wide receiver you? What your affinity for that group and that position? What does that mean that you can bring to the offense?
Well, you know what? I think Coach Finley is a hell of a receiver coach in his own right. And so I want to make sure that we're putting all the emphasis on what he's doing and how he's helping develop them. He's got receivers that he's coached that are playing in the National Football League, and you know what? He has an uncanny ability to relate to the receivers in a way that at times I look at and say, okay, I gotta steal that from him. And so he's done an outstanding job of that. But then also his ability to teach and mentor. All right. But one of the best things about Coach Finley is that he does have such a low ego. He came into this opportunity knowing that, that was kind of the position that I coached for a long time. And he has this mentality of, Coach, I just want to learn and continue to push myself to get better at coaching this position. And so I just got to say thank you to the guy for the way he's approached it, because I don't know that I would have been the same, okay? I've probably been Mr. Know-It-All, okay? I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? All right? But I hope that I wouldn't have been. And so I'm taking some notes from Coach Finn right now in terms of what he's doing. And so, like, when I jump in there sometimes and they're coaching the guys, it's just a product of me just knowing the offense better than what he knows it. And that's all that is. I know, hey, on paper, this is what it says, but in the game, this is kind of what's going to happen on this particular play concept. And so that's the times when I jump in on certain things. But beyond that, he's done an outstanding job of coaching those guys. The receivers themselves, guess what? Okay, I'm all over them. Every little detail. I'm just being honest with you. All right. If they breathe incorrectly, I'm on them. I'm on every detail for those guys, and they know it, and I think that they appreciate it too. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say, Dre Ferris, who we hired as a graduate assistant coach, assistant receiver coach, I tell you what, he played under me. And so he knows kind of how I am as a coach, and he kind of continues to prep those guys every day. Like, all right, now, when he walks in here and this isn't done the right way, there's going to be a problem. So he knows the expectations of what that room is. And so I think we got 3 great guys between myself and those two who are really going to push that room to be its best.
You talked about the O-line some, obviously games won in the trenches. What was the competition like there against the defensive line, and how do you feel like the D-line group is coming together early this spring? Yeah, we can't block Takari Hickle right now. I'm just going to put that out there right now. Offensive line, you can't block Takari. Okay, it's to a point now where I might have to pull a guy out because I'm scared he's going to hurt somebody because he's getting back there so fast. And so, hopefully our O-line will step up to the challenge and block Takari Hickle at least once. Let's start with one time, and then we'll move on to them doing it again. But beyond that, I thought it was a very competitive groups between the O-line and D-line. Like I said, we didn't run the ball very well, so obviously the D-line got the best of us of the O-line in the practice. Today, put some pressure on Coach Hagan, and he takes that stuff to heart, and so he was all over him. So again, D-line played really, really well today. It's just about how Coach Hagan, he's going to do a great job of technically and fundamentally making sure our guys understand what's the expectation on that defensive line. And, I just appreciate the man for that.
Less than 2 weeks to the scrimmage and or 2 weeks until the spring game, 1 scrimmage left. What would you say is maybe one overall goal that you're kind of emphasizing this week before the next scrimmage, or maybe something you'd like to see from the offense and the defense?
You know what? We still are installing parts of the game. So we have our clutch period, which is our 2-minute period that we gotta put on tomorrow, on Wednesday, and so that'll be another piece of it. But again, the physicality of the game, that's a huge emphasis right now. I was told a long time ago to get your players to play in your image. And so, as a player, I was the guy in speed option coming in and cracking people. Back in the day, you could do that. You could full on throw your whole body in there and try to decapitate people. And I tried to do that as much as humanly possible. And then, the rules changed a little bit, okay? And so I need our guys to play physically the way that I felt like I played. Now, just so we're clear, as I get a little bit older, I was a little bit better than what I really was, in my mind, okay? So in my mind, I'm like, I was so much tougher than what I probably really was. And so I'm going to go with my mind and how I'm thinking about it versus the reality. So the reality is I maybe wasn't that tough, but in my mind, I was knocking people out.
You all right?
Absolutely, I'm good.
Where's Takari been working? Like 3-tech, 5-tech, kind of what's his role in through the spring? He's
been playing a lot of 5 technique, playing on the edge for the most part. We play a field and boundary a lot of times with our ends and whatnot, and so he's been able to flip-flop between both, and so, but he's been heavier to the field on a lot of things, so he's been holding it down. You know, you want that guy who's playing to the field to really be able to contain the run and not allow them to get around the edge, and he's done an outstanding job of that.
Are you guys playing an out front kind of at a base? Or?
We're doing everything. So, Houston, you're going to have to prepare for everything, okay? All right? So we're doing 4 down, we're doing 3 down. Sometimes we're 2 down, maybe even 1 down, okay? All right? We're doing everything. We're really doing everything to really give ourselves the best shot to see what we're good at right now, okay? And so we'll make those final decisions as to what we're really going to do when the first game comes, when we get there. Right now, we don't need to make that decision, okay? We are teaching our guys the fundamentals of what football is supposed to be like. And then I'll tell you what, one of the best things about what we've done on defense is this, you know, the language, the words that are being used, guess what? It applies to even when we're in 4 down, when we're in 3 down, when we're in 2 down, 1, whatever it is. Like, the words apply no matter what front we're in, okay? And so our players are able to pick it up. Hey, when we're in 3 down, let's just say butterfly. You got butterfly technique. Hey, when you're in 3 down, hey, you got crab technique. Whatever it is, it triggers for each one of our guys because all of them know what a butterfly technique. Everybody knows what a crab technique. Everybody on the defense understands what each one of these words mean. So whether we're in a 3 down, 4 down, 5 down, whatever it is, they know what their job is.
What's the origins of your affinity for acronyms and why you chose FAT?
FAT, okay? So FAT is one of those words for me. It's deeply entrenched in my heart. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's deeply entrenched in who I am. My grandmother, her name was Thelma Williams. So Thelma, her nickname was Fat, F-A-T, okay? And so everybody in the town, hey, Fat, how you doing? How you doing, Fat? And Fat was a term of endearment, okay? It was a term that said that because, she was a bigger boned woman. Because she had weight on her, guess what? She was happy. I mean, she was eating good. She was around people that she loved, okay? So every time I even come home still to this day, if I see my mom and I look too skinny, she's like, boy, what's wrong with you? Okay, she wants me to have a little bit of weight on me, and I gotta keep teaching her about health and I want my heart to keep pumping strong for a long time. But fat is a term of endearment, and so when you start thinking about the program, what you're saying, fat, family, okay, accountability, toughness. Okay, these are easy ways for me to continue to push those things within our program that I hold near and dear to my heart. I feel like, and I've said this multiple times, I went to school on a full ride, on an academic scholarship, but, I worked really hard at it. I worked hard at school. I wasn't naturally smart. I worked really, really hard. Okay, no, I was in the library. Okay, all right, for hours upon hours upon hours. I was even forcing my teammates, my college roommates, to go to the library with me. So I worked hard at it. And so the acronyms sometimes help a guy who has to work hard at it to remember the things that are important in this program, but also for our players, for them to remember it as well.
You gonna get FaceTime with the commissioner this week?
I think so. I think today I got something with maybe it might be the deputy or whatever it is.
Right.
So today, but beyond that, we'll see what happens there on. I know we have our Pac-12 days down there, and so I'll get some time at that time as well.
Anything you're looking to impress upon the decision makers while they're here?
You know what? At this point in time, we just got to continue to push the envelope for our group, for our conference, and then let them know that we want to have as much visibility as humanly possible. So if there's opportunities for us to have more visibility as a conference, whether it's playing on some different days and whatnot, to allow us to have some prime time opportunities away from other games that are going on, I want to let them know that my team is going to be willing to do that. At the end of the day, I think in my heart of hearts, there's going to be another iteration of like conference realignment and so on and so forth. And that's the reality of what I think. And so, I want them to see the product that we have that makes Oregon State attractive, or the Pac-12 attractive to other teams that may want to come join our league and whatnot. And so I think that that's a big deal for us to say, hey, this is a great brand of football being played in our league. Come on back into this league, some of y'all who already left, and let's redo this thing.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank